But if you get the skin of the pineapple and boil it up, there's some chemical or component to it, some nutrient in it that's unbelievable for us, and just drink off the water that you've boiled the skin of the pineapple in.
Is this like the broccoli water?
Yeah. I love drinking the water of boiled
water.
fruits and vegetables. Yeah, broccoli water
there's so
is
much.
it's like how do I describe it in like a family friendly manner? It provides lots of energy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like. Welcome back to Everything from Nothing, where you just seen a really cool intro made by our lovely friend Jennifer Ryan Kelly. She check out her pages on Instagram and Facebook. She does really cool animation. But yeah, thanks Jennifer for that intro. This is really weird for us because we're not watching an intro, so it's weird for me to be talking about an intro.
I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, it is. And there's really cool music. Stevie did the music for it. It's very good. Today we're joined by hosts Danielle and Izzy. It's Izzy's first time.
Hello.
Did you find this awkward?
Well, no, not at all.
Yeah, and we're joined by our guest. Oh wait a minute! I actually brought this. I brought presents for. I'm gonna start bringing presents for the guests. I think it's only fair. And
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Pepper each. We have pepper each.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Thanks
pepper,
so much,
pepper.
Kieran. We had to fight over the colours now. Kieran, that's so nice.
Yeah, no
Thanks
bother.
so much.
Yeah, like
Very thoughtful. I
That's
did.
so nice.
I didn't just get it from.
actually really enjoyed this now.
That's nice and chill.
Are you all
Oh,
okay?
they're actually
Good
good peppers.
Thank
Good
you.
I'd say peppers are fair aesthetically pleasing as well. Like they look fair.
Yeah, they're
They
I
lovely.
smell
love
good
loving the
too.
peppers. Like I used to hate peppers, but I used to make I'd have to get them anyway just because they look nice. Yeah. Today we're joined by our guest Cáit Ryan. Today's guest is a musician, folklorist, ambassador of Looking After Yourself, a sister of our previous guest, proficient event organizer for our community. It's the charismatic creator of creations, Cáit Ryan.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that intro.
Yeah, you were supposed to be on last week, but
Yeah.
you were sick because you just came back from being in Mexico with Mayans.
Yeah.
How was that?
In Mexico, yeah, it was unbelievable. We were
Yeah.
like, my boyfriend Connor is part of the tip panel.
Yeah.
So we went on the team holiday. So it was New York for 2 nights, 2.5 nights, and then we flew down to Cancun.
All right.
So
Wait, so the tip team go over there is kind of
just because they won the
okay, right?
All Ireland.
Fair.
Yeah.
The sound.
Yeah, so it's the team holiday, like. So yeah, in Mexico then we went out. We were staying in like a all-inclusive hotel or whatever, but then some days, maybe 2 or 3 days, we went out to like the Mexican jungle.
Yeah.
And yeah, we met with we went into traditional Mayan communities.
Oh wow.
And yeah, it was unbelievable. Now we went to like Mayan architectural ruins.
That kind of
and-
like their pyramid temples.
Yeah, their pyramid. Their temples and their pyramids, and they're all like, it's just mind blowing because they're totally in line with the planets and the let's say the moon phases and the sun phases on certain days of the year. Their festivals will all line up with where a temple is situated or where different
Wow.
elements of their cities were built.
That's class.
Yeah,
so
it's
It's-
cool.
and-
It's unbelievable.
And how like traditional, like how did it feel like you were back in time? Was it that kind of traditional, or was it like
There's
like do they still have phones and
So there's I suppose a degree, like some Mayans would still live a very traditional lifestyle, and then some are living in apartments, but they'd still like celebrate Mayan feast days or whatever.
yeah.
Like there is, but like we visited ones still living in the jungle, still in little thatched houses. There's no walls, it's just a thatched roof. And still like they have the fire on all day to keep out the mosquitoes. And
all day?
Yeah, all
Whoa.
day. Because the smoke is the only thing that'll keep out mosquitoes.
And it's not like they're lighting fires because it's cold. They're like,
No.
they must be roasting.
Although we were delighted because when we were in Cancun in the hotel, it was absolutely beaten down on us like the sun. But then when
Yeah.
we went into the jungle, because of the trees. It's
Oh,
actually, you're in a shade and the heat is comfortable.
Yeah,
do you know what
yeah.
I mean? So yeah, it was unbelievable. Now it was an eye opener.
Yeah, that's a culture I've never, like, do you know what, I'm drawn to certain cultures, but like I'm more like I'm definitely really interested in them. It's definitely one I've never looked into. As like
Yeah,
did they have like, I don't know, I suppose you had the Mayan, the whole calendar thing. That was a whole.
the calendar is
Yeah.
class. Yeah, because
So
one
they
day
so are they just like at the start? It's still the start of the new year over there then.
it's. I'm not actually quite. Is it? Yeah.
No,
When do they start their new year?
I'm not sure. Sure, like if their calendar was what was it? 2012. I know. I think what was their calendar?
Well, they
Five.
ended. Well, like, you know, the way everyone was blowing it up that the world was going to end in 2012
Yeah.
because the Mayans had predicted this, and all their calculations and predictions for certain dates were all correct up to this point.
Yeah.
But it's just like the end of one calendar cycle.
Yeah, that I think.
that we're now, and a lot of people into spirituality, and that, you know, everyone said a new consciousness
shift.
came
Yeah.
in 2012,
Yeah.
which aligned up with the Mayan. We're in a new cycle of existence and humanity since 2012.
Yeah.
Different awarenesses coming through. Yeah.
I actually only got this book called 2012 because I used to always, like, before that all happened, I used to find it so interesting. I was like really afraid of it, but I knew there was something weird about it, and I was so interested from a young age. Like, but yeah, it was never. They never said it was like the end. It was the end of what was. Like, it was the start. Like, same with any other calendar, except a more intense calendar. No, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and just we had a tour guide one day, and he was like, his parents were Mayan, very traditional, and his grandparents were Mayan or whatever. But he was saying he lives his life, like his inner life and his spiritual life, with the Mayan calendar, which has like 13 months. And
13 months?
13 months, and
Okay.
all the months are 28 days, relating completely to the cycles of the moon.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and he was saying the way, like, we all know that females have a hormonal cycle or whatever, but he was saying males have a hormonal cycle
That's
too.
so weird.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was just looking at there's this guy, Fraser. He talks a lot about like men's health and stuff like that on Instagram, and he's a really cool guy. But he was just talking about that, and he's the first person I ever seen mention that, and obviously he got a lot of hate off women being like, no way, like, you know, you don't have a cycle. But it was just really weird that you're talking about it.
That's
I only
weird,
heard
isn't
about
it?
it like literally yesterday for the first time.
Yeah, because I hadn't heard about it either until two people in Mexico then said it about, like, you know, you might be angry. I don't know, I'm not a man, like, or whatever. Maybe. No, but, like, you know, he was saying at some times of the month he'd feel really angry, and he didn't know, or sad or whatever, inward, whatever, and he didn't know he didn't realize that males also have a hormonal cycle that they follow.
Yeah.
And then when he realized it, he started living with the moon cycles of the Mayan calendar. He said it was just a game changer because he gave time and space to those feelings when he was a little bit like angry, or he could process them.
It made
and
more
understand them.
sense,
It
like,
made a lot more sense, yeah.
Because I feel like, if you don't have that, where it's like, I suppose if like women are going through emotions, and I think, and this guy actually was saying the same thing, is to clarify that they are still completely different things, and it's not saying that like all of a sudden that men understand like what it's like to go through that cycle for women. Like, they're just completely different things, like, and I think it's good then for men to then now be able to be like, okay, like they can be more understanding about their feelings if they feel like there is some sort of pattern and other elements, rather than being like, I have no
Definitely.
idea why this is happening. Like,
Yeah.
I was going to say, it makes more sense as well anyway, following the 28 days. Not even out of a spiritual sense, but like the fact that we have like this big clock in the sky essentially that we can just look at and be like, oh, every 28. But shout out to Julius Caesar, who just messed the whole system up there back in the day. Yeah, that was the whole thing as well, that I don't think I'm not sure if the calendar actually ended in 2012, because the Eastern, like, we took it in and calculated it through Julius Caesar's calendar, which is a whole other thing that just doesn't make sense. The 13 months part, though, that's something I never looked into, and I've heard of a few different cultures with. How is that measured? Like, why 13?
Because the moon has 13 full cycles in a year, or there's
It's
13 full moons in a year.
That makes sense. So they literally, that makes sense actually, yeah.
It makes way more sense.
I know,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
And like, imagine if every... And another really cool thing that they believe is the day in the lunar cycle on which you were born will determine let's say in a traditional Mayan community, will determine your role in that community. So let's say I got a traditional Mayan birth cert and everything when I was over there. I was born on the 26th day of a full cycle of a moon. So that's 2 days before the new moon or whatever. So if I was living in a traditional Mayan community, I would be a healer of some sort.
Wow.
Be it medical or through music or whatever. But if you're in the closing phase of the moon cycle, you're kind of drawn to the more healing roles in the community.
Yeah.
Or then some are like, let's say taking care of other people or teaching or hunting. There's, depending on which day in the moon cycle you were born, will determine your role in the community.
Oh, that's really interesting. I've never heard of any culture that's the first I've heard of any culture doing that. That's really cool.
But I didn't realise, because the Mayans were so sophisticated, and then the Spanish, I was also thinking, the Spanish killed, when they went to conquer Mexico, they killed 90% of the Mayans. Completely killed. And in our history books, it's Christopher Columbus went out on this to discover spices and gold, and it's total BS. We're never told of history from the perspective of those people, and their civilization was so sophisticated and complex, and then the Spanish just come in and kill 90% of them, and the only reason they left 10% of them was because the Mayans knew how to get, rubber was really valuable, and the Mayans were the only people that knew how to convert sap from this specific tree into rubber. So they needed, the Spanish wanted the rubber to trade because it was really valuable at the time. And the Mayans were the only people that knew how to do this. That's why they saved 10% of them. In North America, they only saved...
So they only saved them so that you can extract
rubber. Totally,
yeah. That's mad.
They didn't want them at all. And in North America, they only saved 1% or less than 1% of the Native Americans. They literally, genocide came in, killed a lot of them.
Just for their own use, then they kept a few.
Do you know what I think though is maybe it's obviously there's no positive side to that, but something so powerful of the cultures that have been wiped out that are still alive today. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the fact that their culture, the Mayans, the Aztecs, were they?
They're, let's say, mid-Mexico. The Mayans would have been on the east coast.
Yeah, and just kind of a lot of cultures in Native Americans, that their culture still survives through that, in some way. There's a power behind that for whatever that is.
It's crazy. The resonance must be so deep that despite all odds,
you can't get rid of that.
It still survives.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many weapons or men you have, you will not get rid of that thing, whatever it is. It's always going to live in the land. And I was always interested about going across America, because I always thought no interest living in America. But then when I thought about, if you traveled from one end of America, it's the only country I thinking about in the world. I could be wrong, could sound stupid now, but that if you traveled across it in one day, if you could travel, you'd see all the seasons in one day, because it's all isn't it? It's always snowing somewhere in America. It's always a desert. There's always forests, rainforests, so it's a really powerful piece of land. And there's a reason why they came over to this land and settled there, because it's one giant. But then again, at the same time, it wasn't a divided piece of land, so I don't know. It's all confusing.
Yeah.
But back, so if you're after Mexico, then you come back to Ireland. You were saying that you would have been a healer over there.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you talking about though, you're into healing as well, sound healing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I don't practice as a sound healer now. Right. Well, not in the specific kind of, or I suppose professional sense of a sound healer. Yeah. But I would have a very strong, I don't know, do you feel it as well? You probably do. Of there's such serious healing through sound.
I think so.
Yeah. Music therapy.
Yeah.
I think if there wasn't, there'd be no such thing as minor or major chords. The fact that they're at the very basics for someone, this concept that we're going to start talking about, this might sound absolutely bizarre, but just at the root of it all, the fact that there's chords that make you sad, and the fact that there's chords that make you happy, then you can go deeper, and then that's where I suppose
yeah, because I think it all comes down to vibrations.
Yeah. That
let's say a chord, be it minor or major, is at a certain vibration.
Yeah.
Literally, it's vibrating particles of air.
Yeah.
And then we're all vibrating. If you take it, the smallest molecule of our beings, we're literally vibrating. I know we appear in full form, but we're actually just molecules vibrating mad.
Yeah.
And then that vibration meets our vibration, and it's
Yeah,
like
it works.
it changes us, and it like it literally affects our vibration.
Yeah.
So that's I think why because we're both vibrational. Music is vibrational.
Yeah.
And we're vibrational.
Yeah. So it's like So it's like if you're mixing a song from a sound engineer's perspective, like there's certain waves like that they have to sound right that work with each other, like so us being those waves and that sound being that like what works well with each other. And that the only thing that science and I think spirituality actually agrees in is that this is all a vibration.
Yeah.
So after that, like it's.
And then like specifically with sound healing, let's say a certain emotion will have a certain vibration, like it can be measured. So let's say take like serious trauma from grief or whatever, like that can be measured, and you can specifically create a piece of music that will penetrate that vibration. And
Wow.
do you know what I mean? It's actually really scientific.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, we call it art, but it's, and the way the arts and the sciences are often split so far apart.
Yeah.
They're all the same thing. I
That's
think, anyway.
I know at home Mark often plays, it's like this frequency, and it's the same kind of music over and over again, but it's at a certain frequency. I can't remember what it is.
432 or
Something like that.
Or
It's
5.
always playing in our house, but as soon as he puts it on, like even the dogs, everyone, we all just kind of are
That's
much
class.
calmer.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
really
nice.
calm.
Really
like.
cool.
And then after a while, you don't even hear it anymore. It's just there, but you're not aware of it. Like,
Yeah.
but definitely, it
There's
calms us all down a bit.
There's
Yeah, I know, it's powerful stuff.
yeah.
there's different ones as well that you can get that are like so like this how I came across this was I had like 2 abscesses because I just been stubborn and wouldn't go to the dentist. I ended up letting the 2 fall out. I'm not saying don't go to the dentist. For me, letting the 2 fall out was the easiest option in the end. Been to the dentist for whatever. But I remember I was just in such pain. I just looked up heel tooth on YouTube. I was just I couldn't even like give any time into typing. I was just that in pain. And the first thing came up was like this frequency for a healing tooth. Turned it on and like that. Now it didn't heal it. It didn't get rid of the pain. But while this thing was playing, it was gone. It was like so like it was like a throbbing pain. Mm-hmm. And for some reason the throbbing was going with the pulse of this like thing, and it's like an hour long. And then there's loads of like there's a whole world of like so next time you have like an ear infection, anything like any problem, just look that up followed by frequency, and you'll see what happens. Like
Yeah, I know.
But there's
no, I'd believe it.
there are like and what's really interesting about this, there is there's people approaching this from a spiritual science and people approaching it from a science side, and you'll see this online as well. Like so, it's really interesting to see the 2 communities coming together.
I know, yeah, it's class. It's really cool.
So what about you're definitely into you like food?
Yeah, I know.
That was mad.
I love food.
What I was gonna ask is if love was a food, what food would it be?
Ooh.
Oh God. If love was a food, what food would it be? What kind of love are you talking about? Romantic, familial, friendship?
Unconditional love.
Oh, okay. Will you think about it in a sec, so I'm not on my own?
Yeah, okay,
'cause
right.
This might
I
take
don't-
me a while.
Yeah, I think I should start. If I start asking hard questions, I should at least try and answer them first.
Yeah.
That's fair.
If unconditional love was a fruit, or a food in general.
I actually wrote down fruit earlier, but I thought that was too easy because I feel like everyone would say strawberry. But if you want to do fruit,
Will we keep it to fruit just
Yeah.
because
Keep it fruit.
there's so
Yeah.
many
Keep it
I
fruit.
couldn't even
I'd-
I wouldn't be able to even
Yeah,
like,
I
fruit
know.
would even take me a long time. Unconditional love.
well, actually, mine would be pomegranate.
Would it?
Yeah.
What about the seeds? Like it's kind
Oh
of a-
well, if we're talking about taste, no, it wouldn't be the pomegranate. If we're talking
Are we
about
talking about taste or texture?
yeah,
of the full
I guess
package?
taste makes sense for food. My approach to the pomegranate is like how much fun it is to eat. Like it's. I remember my friend. We were at a festival and he showed me a pomegranate for the first time, and I was mind blown when he opened it up and seen this like literally like a whole other world. It reminded me of like Bug's Life or something. I don't know why.
I
but
know.
It's
fruit
just
are
fun. Like
yeah. It's just like when you see the shapes and stuff that
Yeah.
nature can produce. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, holy crap. Or like the first time I see fruit trees, like I remember I was in, was it Rome or Madrid? It was Rome. And I saw an orange tree for the first time in my life.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Because it's like, all the oranges that those trees have given me. And I've enjoyed oranges all my life. And I've never actually seen the thing that produces the oranges.
That's cool. Yeah,
It was a really emotional experience.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm literally like, like nature is just out of this world, what it can produce, and all these different fruits and flavors and herbs, and it's just.
It's really. Joe, I was reading something recently as well, and I thought this was so interesting. There was a girl debating online. I just came across. What was it? She was debating that not only do we not eat meat or whatever, that's the whole other thing, but she was saying that we shouldn't eat vegetables, and her approach to why, and I don't agree with that, because I do think vegetables are alright because they're growing, but her reason behind it was still so lovely. She showed that fruit was the only thing in the world that wants us to eat it. Because the reason it produces sugar is like so we eat it. Like that's why fruits are high in sugar, is so that we would eat it. Because if we pick, like you're supposed to pick the fruit from trees so that it will grow again next year. So it's actually healthier for the tree for us to pick it. Like
or we'll poop the seed. Like the way the fruits, let's say, function biologically is to protect the seed and to attract people to eat it.
Yeah.
So then when we, let's say, poop out the seed because we won't digest the seed.
Yeah.
That our poo is an actually amazing fertilizer. It
And
gives
then
all
it
the
will grow.
nutrients that seed needs.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's class.
Isn't it really cool? So it's like, and the most ironic part of it is we go in and let's say make a number 2. Sorry, I shouldn't be saying the word poo if people are. Make a number 2 in the loo. And we have to use all this massive complex system of filtration and cleaning the water and all this. Whereas if we just go out into a field or whatever, I know it's kind of impossible to do, let's say Liberty Square. But like that, you're literally, an apple tree or whatever could spring up from that.
That's mad, yeah.
That's what I pooed there last year. It's just,
That'd be impressive.
It's just the design of nature is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
It's
think
unbelievable.
I think we're starting to learn that, like
We are, yeah.
that it knows what it's doing. Like we don't need
it
to
knows so much better than
tell it
us,
what it's doing. But yeah. So what would be your fruit?
The fruit. Will you go first?
What was
Sorry,
your-
I'm still thinking of it.
Do you?
I'd go with blackberry.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, because
Wow.
they grow in like really hard circumstances. They just keep growing.
That's really nice.
So it's unconditional.
that's
Oh,
class.
sorry. That's really nice one. There's
They
not like
grow
the
through
taste.
frost and everything.
Yeah.
Like you'd still see them, and
That's gorgeous one.
That's really cool, actually. Yeah. I love watching
That's
them
really
turn
nice.
from red to black as well. You see
Yeah.
3 of them, and half of them are
Yeah.
black and half of them
Yeah.
are red. Like
because they're always there, but like nobody's planting them every summer
Yeah.
like you have to do with
They're just
strawberries. They
wild.
just die, whereas
Yeah.
these just survive all year round by themselves. So.
I feel like now
Yeah.
as well that like
That's really nice.
because I suppose kids aren't out more as well. I feel like the reason we're actually seeing more of them as well is because kids aren't picking them, because I think that because they're growing places that like they're not being produced to be eaten, but like we'd still eat them like but I feel like a lot of kids like now wouldn't, because maybe there's just no like
Yeah,
taught
maybe
education about just like
Wild foods, yeah.
yeah.
Birds eat them though.
Birds eat them, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they?
Because the
Yeah.
birds, again, same model. They won't digest the seeds.
Yeah.
They'll get the nutrition. They'll number 2 out the seeds.
I thought that's
Fertilizer, grow.
I thought that's why the blackberries bushes had thorns, was to stop the birds.
Oh.
Does
I'm
someone?
pretty sure they
Well,
did.
I thought thorns. Okay, right. I'm getting that. I'm not saying that was what I heard. What I added up in my head was that because the blackberry bushes had thorns, is that birds didn't eat them.
Would
But
you
I
ever see
never I never seen a
purple
bird not.
poo?
Okay,
Is
yeah,
that
that's
what
true.
that
Actually,
is?
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Pure blackberry. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's your fruit?
I don't know. I just love pineapple.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Pineapple is great.
Pineapple
That's
is
my
class.
reason.
Do you know what's amazing for you is if you obviously try and get an organic pineapple, because if you do this with a regular one, you're just going to have a serious load of pesticides inside you.
Oh.
But if you get the skin of the pineapple and boil it up, there's some chemical or component to it some nutrient in it that's unbelievable for us, and just drink off the water that you've boiled the skin of the pineapple in.
Is this like the broccoli water?
Oh yeah, I love drinking the
Oh,
water of
broccoli
boiled
water.
fruits and
Yeah.
vegetables. Yeah, broccoli
Well,
water
there's so
is
much.
like, it's like how do I describe it in like a family-friendly manner? It provides lots of energy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like you will feel like you're after eating 5 or 6 different broccoli boosts at once after just drinking broccoli water. Like,
Yeah.
it's good stuff. It gives you lots of energy, and yeah, you don't have to. You just drink it after you're done
Yeah.
boiling broccoli.
I know, because vitamin C anyway is water soluble, so if you, let's say, boil an apple or an orange or whatever in water, all the vitamin C is going to be in the water. It's not going to have remained in there.
Okay, yeah.
If you're boiling it in a lot of water, you have to drink the water to get the goodness, or put it in soup or something, or
Yeah.
whatever. But I don't know about my fruit. It's so tough.
Could you pick a vegetable? I could pick a vegetable. Could I pick a vegetable? Nah. No, I couldn't pick a
The
vegetable.
blackberry's hard to beat.
Blackberries. Good. Why'd you say broccoli?
The blackberry's hard to beat for unconditional
I
love.
feel
Yeah.
so philosophical.
Actually,
Thank you.
yes. Tied in with unconditional love, I think blackberry literally
Yeah.
works. If it was,
How is the pineapple unconditional love? Like, how did you come up with that one?
I have no reason. She just likes it. It's my favorite fruit.
Yeah.
There must be other things that grow in really harsh conditions as well. It's blackberries.
What a fruit!
I've been kind of trying to improve on it every year, but this year, to even start noticing like more wild foods and fruits. So something I got into this year was the elderberry.
Oh, lovely.
Do you know the elderberries?
Yeah.
Or like from the elder, you have the elder flower.
If anyone in
And then-
Thurles is looking for elderberries, every September up on top of that bridge at Scolalva, the best elderberries ever, and people should start picking them because there's loads
Yeah,
of them
they're
up there.
unbelievable. And the hawthorns, I only realised this year, I don't know how I was living up until this point, and I didn't realise. You know the red berry on the hawthorn?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can eat that.
Are they called like the dog rose things? That you
I don't know what they're called, but I never realised you can eat them.
I didn't know you could eat them. Someone tell me you can make tea out of them, but like
You can make tea out of them as well.
Eat them then.
But they're amazing for your heart.
Wow.
Yeah, let's say in herbal medicine practices, the hawthorn is like big one for the heart. But
That's
yeah,
class.
I don't know how, because
I feel
fair
like
enough, if I was living in a town, I might have missed it.
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
literally, I can't go outside my front door without hawthorns everywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I never realised it.
That's mad. I guess that's why they are everywhere as well. And that's like saying back to the blackberry the way kids are now. But like blackberry's the only one, because like elderberry was one I only found out like literally a few months ago.
Yeah.
Because yeah, no, I was knowing elderberries. I always seen these things around, but I
Yeah.
didn't know they were elderberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're lovely.
But like in the Folklore archive in Dublin, there's a big section of, let's say, herbal medicine and food that people used to eat all the time, and like just maybe 100 or so wild foods like that were part of the daily diet.
Yeah.
That it's like, and it's only when you get more interested and you go out and you look in the ditch, you're like, oh my god, I can literally eat everything in this ditch, and it's so good for me. I can boil it up, or like, let's say dandelion roots or dandelion leaves or whatever, or nettles, and they're so accessible, they're free, and they're stronger than any medicine you'd buy in a pharmacy, and it's like
Yeah.
game changer. I can have all my food
Those,
for free.
They're like these little green plants. They grow up through driveways and stuff, and they have little yellow circly things on them. I can't remember the name of it, but you see it everywhere.
Daisies?
No, it's not
They're not
daisies. They're not
daisies.
even a flower. It's like this weed. Yeah, it's basically a weed, and it has a little yellow.
Bouchlodons, are they?
I don't know.
Bouchlodons.
I saw a
What's that
picture of
translate?
it, and
Sorry, right?
It's known as ragwort, but I don't know
Alright.
what bouchlodon. It's yellow, like it's
tiny little yellow, but mostly green. But apparently, if you boil it up and drink the water, it's like a cough bottle, and it's meant to be really, really good. Yeah, but I've never
I
tried
wonder
it.
what that
But they
is.
grow
I'm-
everywhere.
Are they dandelions
they
that are
grow-
closed?
I often see them in driveways or in along the corner of the house. It seems to be near concrete and stuff a lot.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah, but
That's
I'm not
mad
sure
the
what
way
it
stuff
is.
just grows
I'll
through
find a
concrete.
picture of it and show
Yeah.
it to you.
Yeah,
probably know
do,
what it is.
please.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like that's how resistant or resilient nature is, because in the, let's say, obviously below the concrete, there's soil.
Yeah.
And all those, what we call as now weeds, which are useful plants, obviously. There's such a rich seed bank of those in the soil underneath the concrete that any little gap in the concrete and they're going to just shoot up.
That's mad, yeah.
It's class.
It's unstoppable.
It's so cool. It's unstoppable.
It's unstoppable.
Let it rain on. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, I just want to say as well for some sort of health purposes, do not go eat those berries I was saying at Squalalva. They may be elderberries, but I am not taking accountability for my lack of knowledge. Yeah, so do not eat those berries up in Squalalva.
There's actually a really cool Facebook group. It's like identifying Irish things.
Okay.
So you can just take a little photo. Yeah, things,
Ones that are
plants.
edible or just...
Anything that you want to know about, like, let's say that yellow flower. Just take a snap of it or whatever, put it up, and then you'll get so much information because, like, there's, top herbalists and everything really interested, and they'll tell you what you, like, so many uses for every single plant.
What's the group called?
Oh, good question. It's like Irish Plant Identification Forum.
Okay.
Something like that.
If you type that in, that'll probably come up anyway.
Yeah.
What I was saying, you were saying about folklore archives. Are you studying folklore at the moment?
Yeah.
Do you like folklore?
I love it.
Folklorist. That's how you pronounce. That's what you say.
A folklorist.
I thought that was mad. I didn't know why that sounded so odd.
I know, it's weird. Yeah.
Folklorist.
Well, I don't know what I technically term myself. I would actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Do.
I'm a folklorist. Yeah. I'm doing
studying it
in UCD. Yeah, it's class. It's an MA for 1 year in folklore and ethnology. So folklore is basically, like, the term folklore only kind of came into existence in about, I want to say about 1850 by this English lad. And he, like, folk at that time meant kind of rural.
Oh, yeah, and lore.
Yeah, the lore of the folk.
Oh, whoa.
Is that a game changer?
Yeah.
That's actually a game changer for a lot of people. They're like, the lore
I hate
of the
that. It's
folk.
always so obvious that you're like, what?
Folklore,
It makes sense. 1 + 1
But
is
you
2.
see, at the time, folk meant, in 1850, when he coined the term folklore, folk referred to rural, mainly like peasantry and illiterate people. And then the lore referred to like all their knowledge and customs. So it was the knowledge and customs of the illiterate peasantry.
Oh, whoa, yeah.
But now folk in academic terms is any social group with two or more persons that have their own customs and traditions. So like most people would associate folklore with, let's say in an Irish context, banshees and stories or whatever.
Yeah.
But like my interest in folklore would be I'm really into food, the folklore element of food, and the practices of, let's say, foragers and that, because that's all our in the archive, that's all comes under the branch of folklore. But folklore is also, like, there's another guy on the Masters, Paddy Joe, and his main research project is in the folklore of truck culture in Donegal and car culture. Because they're a social group.
Irish.
Yeah, but they're Irish. It's an Irish context, and they're a social group of 2 or more persons with their own completely
How old is
beliefs.
that truck folklore? Is it more a recent thing than?
It's total recent. Yeah. It's modern folklore.
I wouldn't be surprised if the 2 of the Dan were driving around in lean Carroll trucks back in the day. Like, I don't know. Like.
But it's still folklore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
So and they have their own beliefs, customs, traditions, even language. Do you know what I mean? They're a total group with their own. So we always think of folklore as the stories and the stories are an element, but it's also material culture. Let's say houses, furniture, clothing, all that. Then like folk belief, the Celtic spirituality or whatever. Folk medicine, which would have all the herbals and all that. It's huge. It's a huge, broad term for so many different things.
And it does go hand in hand with, like, the fact, I always find it so interesting, like, how everything, like, in Irish folklore, in what perceived as the Irish folklore, like, I didn't know about that, but, like, when most people think of Irish folklore, they think of, like, the 2 of the Dan and the gods and goddesses and stuff like that. I never had it put like that before. But it's interesting that such a broad word be added to such a broad, and like what Irish folklore that everyone knows of as well is so like you can't put like a time on it, you can't put like, do you know what I mean? It's so broad that it makes sense for such a broad word to be, but unfortunately it comes from some guy just being very mean about
Folk. Well, I don't think he intended to be mean.
okay, just
but
being
he was.
super honest or something.
Yeah, no, but he was just, that's what they were. They were peasants,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
illiterate. And we often think of illiterate people as less
Yeah, I
educated.
guess
Like,
so, actually. It's not.
illiteracy, if you look at the Irish context, like, and the oral transmission, that's a large element of folklore, that the, like, let's say stories and songs and all these beliefs were orally transmitted.
Yeah.
But like, let's say if you look at someone who's illiterate, they could still know like 2,000 stories,
Yeah.
3,000 poems. Illiteracy isn't any kind of mark of how well educated you are.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
It's definitely not, because
That-
you know. Sorry, you go on.
No, go on.
You go on.
Is this an awkward moment?
But, like,
No, but what I was gonna say is, yeah, I think like today it's like, yeah, that's how it's perceived, because everyone's been told to read in school, and if you're
Yeah.
not going to school, then you're illiterate.
Yeah.
But like even back then, like the way things were perceived as skills is there was no skill that was, and this really ties into Irish culture, and it does all cultures, but I'm aware of it more so about Irish culture, is that that like there is no one thing that's better. Like the Druids weren't better than the storytellers, or the storytellers weren't better than the kings. It's like it was a one unified system of them all like being together. Like
yeah.
so yeah, there was no like illiterate. Now is it makes sense what it's perceived as is, I don't know, someone.
And it would, I actually think back then, the need to write things down would have been seen as actually a weakness.
Yeah.
Because if your memory wasn't fit to hold that,
Yeah.
then you couldn't have been a poet, or,
I think that's really
do
interesting.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think, like, do you know, the need to write down everything, or, like, our memories and our capacity for that has, like, dwindled so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Like, our, even, you know, now I heard them saying they're making, it was on the radio the other morning, like, they're making little tiny films about 6 minutes long on this new app that's like a branch off Netflix, because
Wow.
on the train and buses and stuff, people, you know, love that, because their attention spans are getting ever smaller, that we want these tiny consumable things.
Yeah. It's the instant, like just wanted at once. Like it is, everything is being designed now about instant gratification. I do think it might go the other way, but that's like, I don't know, what a lot of people getting more back into. People are approaching creativity in a different way now. If we can start approaching it the way it was before, like now it's like people are creating for the sake of creating, and because everyone else is, there's nobody doing it kind of naturally. And like the ones that are doing it naturally, I'm trying to give an example, like not really in Ireland, but like for example, like directors Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese. Like Martin Scorsese brought out a 3.5 hour film the other day, which is like probably normal years ago.
Yeah.
But like he got so much like shit over it. People were like, "Oh, he expects us to watch it," and like it's not the film, or it's you know, it's the people's attention span that has changed.
Yeah.
And if artists, what I'm trying to get at is, if artists allowed to change their artwork based on the way people's attention spans are changing, well, that's gonna like give less weight or strength to creativity, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Because the voice, it's not the artist's voice. You know,
Yeah.
the minute you shift your aim as an artist to what does my audience want, instead of what message do I need to get out,
Yeah.
or do I need to express,
Yeah.
it's a game, it's
And
totally.
I think because of the likes of being able to post stuff online now so easily and getting that gratification, it is so much easier, because you'll always see like someone will start off authentically with their artwork, and
Yeah.
the gratification nearly drives them to do it more, and then they get burnt out from being creative. Being burnt out from being creative wasn't a term, you know, until recently. Like now it's a big thing, like being burnt out from being creative. That makes realistically that makes no sense. Like you're being burnt out because you're trying to chase the gratification that you got last time. People are trying to get the same amount of likes as last time, so they're trying to up their creative quality rather than, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to add more.
They put more weight on what people think maybe
Yeah.
of their art than
Than
how
what it
they
is.
feel with their
Yeah.
art. But then I was listening to Ani's episode there last week, and she was saying the way, you know, with so much access to so much music and so much, in her case, drama or whatever,
Yeah.
that she finds that she has to watch herself, that her own voice doesn't get muddled. that like, you know, the way we've so much content at our hands now, that like if we didn't have any of that, and what actually would be our own sound, or what would be our own voice? Do you ever think about that?
Like, do you mean are we being the most authentic? Are we being the most natural?
Yeah, or is my art just a product now of? And I know you're going to be influenced by what you hear. Yeah. But now
it's like a confusion nearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Would you experience that?
Or
often, like, I'd find, I'm playing stuff and listening to people, and then I'm like.
Do you mean are you worried about that you might have been kind of influenced by someone else unknowingly?
Yeah, and that if I was left to my own devices,
the
expression that let's say if I want to express emotions throughout, let's say, the expression of that emotion would actually be more true.
Yeah.
Or would be more true to what I actually really want to express than just, oh, I like that, I could use that here, or that would sound cool here, or.
I agree with that. I think I definitely think that's a massive thing. I only actually I realize what you're talking about now. It's like, I think I've only realized that recently about myself is like how much power and how much creativity, how much their power there is in being on your own and finding creativity. Yeah. Whereas like I was caught up in like, especially even if I'm doing a project that might be even more like business orientated, it's like I've still just figured out that like you don't need to be researching stuff online and look stuff up experts. Like, you get that idea, nobody knows where it comes from. The debate, I suppose, one thing on this subject is I always disagree when people say there's no such thing as original content. The only reason I get where people are coming from when they say that, but I just don't understand. If there was no such thing as original content, then there would be no such thing as music or art in the first place. So where did it all come from? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if there was no such thing as
original content.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, though. It's very like you feel you've diluted your own.
Yeah, that's exactly the word. Diluted. Yeah. That's exactly the word I was looking for.
Everyone else around you, like.
Yeah,
it's hard. I think it is just about giving yourself space to creativity. Part of it as well. Now I feel like a lot of people like are more like, this is not a dig on podcasts, but now when they're doing artwork and stuff, they'll be more inclined to listen to music or listen to podcasts, which can be inspiring, but at the same time, is that, like, as you're saying, for all you know, your artwork could be getting influenced by the podcast you're listening to or by the music that you're playing at the same time.
And I think it all comes down to, well, maybe that, now we love information, be it in the form of music or podcast, or we're kind of addicted to having go see a gig or go listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
And we think we get more out of that information coming into us than if we were actually just to spend a day just chilling out with ourselves and maybe writing and actually, how would your emotion, if just take out all that information and just kind of be,
really,
and what would come from that?
I think
what do you think?
I genuinely think that's where the people that do come out with music that's unheard of and stuff are the people that do that. Like, it's true, feeling their own feelings and being by themselves and experiencing maybe what they've experienced before, but they're resurfacing it up. Like, when someone writes a sad song, they're not writing a sad song surrounded by other people. You can be guaranteed that a lot of the time they're at home on their own. Like, do you know what I mean? It's quality content, I think, or quality in general in life comes from a place of emotion. Like,
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I do kind of expect to be entertained all the time, though.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, like going out and watching Netflix or going to a gig or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas can we create that entertainment ourselves by just
so if we can give one bit of
home and thinking about it.
We give one bit of advice for today's episode: stop watching podcasts.
Get off the computer.
Turn this off and be creative. No, genuinely, that's the only reason why you should turn this off if you're going to be creative. Do be creative. Creativity is more important than this podcast. Is there anything else I was supposed to? Well, yeah. What's the first thing you all do in the morning?
Get out of bed.
Yeah. Okay.
I've actually started. Well, actually, I'm not supposed to tell anyone, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Oh, exclusive for the podcast.
So, I've actually started maybe about 4 times. Well, this is now I'm actually committed to now in 2020. Have you heard of the book The Artist's Way?
No way.
I was telling Brendan about it earlier.
Yeah,
How weird.
Morning
Yeah,
Pages.
yeah.
Are you doing it?
I'm not at the moment, but I did it for 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really.
The morning pages.
So yeah, the morning pages. I know you're not. It defeats the purpose of it if you tell people, "Oh, I'm doing my morning pages," because you get
Are you not
gratification.
supposed to tell people?
I didn't
No,
know.
you're not supposed to tell
Oh,
anyone.
I never knew
I
that.
only
I
read.
never
I
knew
always
that
told
either
everybody.
until-
Yeah, so I was telling Brendan earlier. Literally today, I was telling
No.
Brendan about it.
The point of it is you're not supposed to tell anyone you're doing them, and don't read them ever again.
I
Yeah,
never read
I
mine.
never read it
I
back.
never read mine.
I
probably
read mine
die.
back. No, they're grand. Like there's nothing shocking there.
But I actually only read up as part is that like, and I guess I know there's a lot in it. I only read up like kind of. I literally read like the first chapter or something because Danielle had actually. Oh yeah, this is a mad story, right? You had actually told me about this at one of the podcasts one time. The next day I went to a drum workshop and a lady there that I was talking about Croatian and stuff. It was like I was having a really like meaningful conversation with her about Croatian and stuff, and I was learning from her like. So I was already in this conversation, but then like her eyes changed when she was like, Art said something about the artist's way, and I was like, oh, fuck, because it was like this is the universe being like, because you had said it the day before, so I was like,
Yeah, that
okay,
always
so this,
happens.
and I was like, Jesus, I know, because the way you were telling me, I was like, this is a bit of work, because I was like, then the next day my mother started talking about it, and I was like, what the hell, and then she was like, I have it here, and she had it on the shelf, and then
That's a
gave it to
sign.
me, but
That's
yeah,
a sign, yeah.
having definitely like absolutely the amount of creativity. I found 3 things from it is one, being able to by letting yourself write. I found. Am I letting? Is it actually a big thing where I shouldn't be talking
No,
about
not
what?
at all. Maybe we just might
It's
explain
like the
to
Fight
the listeners
Club.
what it is and Fraser.
Yeah, because I
So basically, it's this. The Artist's Way is this book.
get in trouble.
Who's the author again?
Julia Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah, Julia Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we got her name right. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It is.
So,
You can buy it in Bookworm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh really?
And I think Thurles Library has a copy as well,
Okay.
if you
Nice.
want to support your local library. So basically, it's this kind of journey through steps, 12-week course of how to kind of block or unblock your creative self.
Oh.
And so it's called The Artist's Way. The first step kind of is you do these things, or this thing called the morning pages. So every morning, the first thing you do is get up out of bed, or you can do it in bed if you want. Write 3 A4 pages of just stream of consciousness, whatever comes to you. It doesn't have to make sense. You can say, oh, I don't know what to write. You can, whatever. Just 3 pages of content, and then throw
Just
them away.
anything, like.
Anything at all. Whatever comes up for you.
It sounds
Whatever-
when
yeah.
it sounds like it sounds like you're not going to be able to do this, but when you start doing this is where the power is. The creativity, yeah. So this is what I was saying. It's like the 3 things when you do. For me, it's like doing 3 A4 pages. The 3 things I learned, I gained from it was not just the creativity. So yeah, that was one thing. I was thinking of creative things that I did not know I had inside me. That like, just really like creative ways I can treat different things and stuff. The other thing was it's very good for me to write down my dreams, to not have them
Yeah, I was gonna say.
to not have them to be in the way of my day, because I wrote them down. Like you write the stuff on, and it doesn't. That's the whole point. Is once you write it on the page, it's not in your mind for the day. That's where you leave it on the pages. The third thing was being able to realize things that might have happened when you're younger. Like you want to say childhood trauma and stuff. Trauma isn't based on like really what is perceived as traumatic, like as life-threatening trauma. It's very small things that you don't know could have affected you. The tiniest things, like someone took your pencil, like that sounds absolutely ridiculous to get affected by now. But when you're like a child, like that could be the end of the world. So you can start. When you start writing down. I found there's a lot of things that like it doesn't even have to be in your childhood. Just like from past small things that you didn't know affect you, and you're like, once you write it down, you're like, oh, that's stupid, and then it's done and it's gone forever. It's never in your mind again. Like.
Yeah.
It's magic.
Cool.
It's magic.
It's honestly, yeah, it
So
really.
how long do you do that for then?
I
Just write
How-
the page.
forever.
whatever it takes.
What is like?
Well,
Oh,
no,
sorry,
yeah.
How
there's
long
no,
do you do it?
Yeah,
As in,
is this like
There's
a,
no time. I think.
there's however long you want. Like they say, once you start, you'll never stop.
I did now. I stopped, but
Oh,
I do
did
want to
you?
go back.
Did you stop out of decision to stop, or
I
did it
stopped
just?
after I finished the 12-week course.
okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
but
it is designed.
I definitely want to go back and
Yeah.
start doing it again. I found the whole thing life-changing.
Absolutely.
You did the full 12-week course.
Yeah, and
That's
I
fair
had like
play
a
to you.
full-time permanent job, and after the 12 weeks I resigned and like
Are you
Whoa.
serious?
Yeah.
Class.
Yeah, and now I'm way happier now. Like,
That's
I'm not
mad.
encouraging everyone to resign from their job. I love class. You resign. I don't know why I have like resigning from your job as a really like positive
That's
step.
your mantra.
In my mind.
but it has been. It was like,
Yeah,
and like, I know I did like the job, and I loved the people I worked with, but it just
Yeah.
wasn't for me, and it totally changed my life, and it was definitely down to that book.
Really?
That's class.
100%.
Fair
Wow,
play to you for
that's
doing the 12 pages
amazing.
or 12 weeks, because like there's a whole other, because the thing isn't just the morning pages is the main thing. That's the thing you can apply to after. Like I literally started doing that and I just kind of left the book to the side, because there's all other things. The other main thing was go on a date with yourself. Spend
the artist date.
yeah, so you
I
spend
started
at least one time in the week where you take yourself on a date, wherever like to get coffee with yourself or to go to the cinema
Well, it's
with
specifically
yourself.
with your artist as well.
Okay, what's that?
You
now?
know, like let's say I think
I-
the example in the book is, even though I probably would never do this, like go into the pound shop and buy loads of glitter and stickers.
Okay,
and you
stuff
know, make
create-
something creative, or like
Hmm.
take yourself to an art exhibition, or go out and dance in the yard for, you know,
Yeah.
it's the artist that it has to be a kind of creative endeavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, take your artist on a date and treat the artist really well. You know, really see it as like, okay, I'm taking
Alright.
my artist on a date now. I'm going to treat you well. You're going to have fun. Do you know what I mean?
All right. Yeah, I didn't know that part of it was the artist part. I brought myself to like car from warehouse, stuff like that. I wasn't.
Supermax.
Yeah, Supermax. Yeah. Another thing as well is that it's not like direct. I'd suggest absolutely anyone. If you absolutely hate music and art, I'd still suggest doing it. Like it's like business men and women use it the whole time now. It's just like it's just a way to unblock things in your life, and when you've unblocked those things, that's the whole point. Is that's when this creativity can come to you. You make room for creativity, basically.
I did it as part of a group, and I found that way easier. So we'd
Oh,
meet up
nice.
every week, and we'd all be on the same chapter and doing the same thing, and it's
That's
kind of
a really
easier to
nice
stick with
idea.
it then, because you're all encouraging each other. And
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that the kind of
About
model she
That's-
promotes of doing it in a
I
group
think
setting?
so.
I feel like
think
I've
she does
seen
as
something
well.
like that. Yeah.
Lads, we should start a group.
That'd be
Yeah,
class.
I'd love to do it again.
Should we?
Yeah.
Would you?
I
No, I
would
want
definitely
Supermax
do
That's
it.
together.
Yeah.
When we
Would you do
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get really creative with our menu
Yeah.
choices.
No, that'd be unreal. I think doing it in a group would be fair powerful as well. Like.
Yeah, I actually would love to get the ball rolling on that. Or like
Class.
yeah.
Yeah, if anyone watching
Maybe
this
you could
wants to
facilitate,
change their
seeing as
lives,
you-
Oh, I don't know about
Or
that.
sorry, I don't want to put the pressure on
if anyone would like their lives changed, Danielle is going to change all her lives on.
It would be cool and it'd be fun, I'd say. So what are the other steps then?
Yeah, I
I
never
can't
read
remember.
that far. It's done.
There's
The
no,
artist
there's
date.
creating like a symbol that represents yourself. We did that.
Oh, nice.
I can't. It's like 3
I-
years
I-
since I did it now,
I
so I
listened
can't
to a
remember a lot of
podcast.
it.
Wow.
I was listening to a podcast last night and said that one of them, is this correct? This woman was saying one of them was that, so you write down, so like it's like manifestation. You write down on one page, you write down what you're going to do today to get closer to your goals, and on the other page you write down what the universe is going to do to get closer to your goals. So it's like, so there's like what's going to happen that's out of your control, like, you know, like small things like I'm going to be more positive. I don't know, like I'm going to be surrounded more by positive energy. Whereas like you'd write down the more like physical goals, like I'm going to write 2 pages of my book or whatever. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
I'm
loads
That's
in
really
each chapter, but I don't think you need to do every single one of them. You can kind
Okay.
of pick
Yeah.
out bits and pieces and
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah.
yeah.
start
The
a
morning
group.
pages is
Should.
yeah, we should start
You
a group.
definitely should. I'd be well
Yeah.
up for
They,
it.
that's why I count my crazy dream I had of you and Mark of demonic, like not demonic, like tombs of like Brian. I think it was like Brian Brew's tomb in Liberty Square. Like it was a weird dream. Yeah, that was a
Maybe
whole.
it's the Satanism thing. that
It
we-
could be.
That's it.
Yeah, what else? I think we're going to finish up now. It was good. It's only just an hour. Oh. I just love time flies when time flies. Why does time fly? Find out next week on. Actually, hey, do you want? I thought this was hilarious, and this mightn't actually be that funny at all. But there's a book I'm reading called Journey of Souls, and it's basically like so this guy, he's a hypnotist, if that's how you pronounce it. Michael Newton. The book's called Journey of Souls, if anyone's interested. But a friend of mine gave it to me, and but yeah, the book is about, so he brings people into like past life regression hypnosis to go see their past lives. But he did it. It's structured in a way that it's all dialogue where he's talking to the subjects. But there's one part in it that I thought was hilarious, and he goes into like he's in the soul world, like in the spirit world with him. And there's a part where was it 2-5? I just thought this was hilarious. It was like a really what's the word, like a really sassy soul. To put it for better. So Dr. Newton, he's in the spirit world. He says, Dr. Newton, how does this place appear to you? Subject, a circular auditorium where a raised dais in the middle, that's where the speakers are. Dr. Newton, are we going to float in and sit down on seats? Subject, shakes head, why would we need seats? I just thought it was hilarious because he asked him, he asked him in the spirit world, are we going to go in and sit down? And he's basically like, no, we're not going to need seats in the spirit world. I knew that was not going to translate well as a joke. I read this whole book and I knew that. It probably only makes sense and sounds bizarre.
No, it's good.
But yeah, it's a good book though. It's interesting, good dialogue. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks
This
a
class
million for
episode.
having me. Thanks.
Yeah, if you're watching this, and do this right this time. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's an audio only version available on Spotify and Acast. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Acast, there's video where you can see us move our mouths while we talk on YouTube. And it's all yeah. What else? That's it, I guess. Thanks to Izzy and Danielle. Thanks to Cáit for coming on. Thanks to Green Sheep, and thanks for An Post for moving out at Liberty Square. We really appreciate that. Yeah, that's everything from nothing.